2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff. All systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back. Episode 105 underway. We got another breakdown along the way. We've had tons of news. We're actually competing right now with a very special Joe Rogan and George St. Pierre number 2. But speaking about number 2s, how are you? How has the days been?
By competing, you mean we're not watching it?
That is a good summation.
Because we won't actually be competing with it if you are watching it, because by the time it's over, it'll be perfect time to download Lesbo and the Bean.
That's a great point. Oversight by the Bean here. Riveting stuff we got going on. But
yeah, hello, it's Wednesday, another fight week.
Tons of other news going down, another fun fights. It's going to be an early morning one or late night one, depending on where you're at in the world. This is in the UK on a Saturday night, Sunday morning on the East Coast. I think it's a Saturday night for the West Coast peeps. So, and in the UK, when does it start for them?
Wait, I think for us, it comes on at what time? We're at East Coast in the United States of America.
Preliminary start at 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
On Fight Pass.
No, you're wrong.
I'm right.
No. They come on 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday for us.
I am getting such contradicting information because I'm going to the UFC site itself, and I was seeing Eastern Standard Time 10 p.m.
Oh, really? They're not in UK time at 10 p.m.?
I was just looking at the UK web, the UFC.com and schedule of events, and I thought it said Saturday night. But it was going to be
No, I thought it was Sunday.
Well, Sunday morning. It ends at like 6 a.m. or something.
Okay, I got the rundown for you.
All right, one more time.
The exclusive Fight Pass prelims start at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The prelims start at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this is all May 27th, so that's Sunday. And the main card is at 1 p.m. May 27th Eastern Standard Time.
I love me a midday card. That is good to
So for the West Coast, that'll be starting at 7 a.m., the West Coast of the United States. And then in UK, I think you are right. I think it is 10. I think the actual main event of the main card starts at 1 a.m. their time.
Something crazy. It's one of these factors that is going to
So check your local listings and try not to... That took us some time. That was some trudge. But I feel like we already did this and we were both confused last time.
That's exactly why I feel like we're getting on point.
So Sunday morning, because I have my wife's birthday on that Saturday night.
Perfect.
And you guys are obviously coming, and I wouldn't have done that to us. So Sunday morning card for us. So we'll try not to get ourselves too twisted so we can wake up and enjoy a little UFC with some eggs and coffee.
Beautiful way to start the morning.
Yeah, what else is going on? You said big news.
Big news. We have fights falling out, fights being switched up. We have Fabricio Verdum versus Olenek.
Is over.
Is already on the books and already taken off because Fabricio Verdum has popped 4 tainted supplements because that's what's going to be, I guarantee it, or it's going to be kangaroo meat, some crazy ass bull Verdum shit, but it's not going to be his fault, and he's going to take 6 months instead of the full 4 years, and life will move on because that's the world we live in.
Is that what happens in Brazil?
No, that's just what happens in the commission. That because they still caught him. I don't know where they got the urine from, if it was training in the States or...
And I don't know, how come John Jones, we always have to see him for longer than 6 months? He's out like 2 years at a time.
Because he's had multiple... He's a habitual rule
Verdum's never broken rules?
He paid for a boomerang.
A boomerang
incident. Some slurs thrown out there every once in a while that he had to go to counseling for.
I actually saw Colby Covington walking away with a little cup of pee. I'm just saying.
Interesting.
Maybe there's some dirty hands at work. Maybe it's not Verdam.
What's the latest breaking news that you've heard of as of late since we last met? Because there has been a lot of interviews going down, a lot of people weighing in on all sorts of social media stuff.
The biggest news that I heard in the last few days was that there was a 6.9 earthquake this morning in Hawaii. And
wow.
that on the Big Island, and
where the lava's coming out from under the ground and
Exactly.
making more island. You're
Yes.
welcome, Hawaii.
yeah, it's a little.
You're about to get another extra beachfront property.
It is not looking great for Hawaii right
Poor
now.
Hawaii. I am just joking. Those people are suffering. I thought I heard a guy ended up getting lava sprayed on his leg and it burned it to the bone and they had to amputate. And I'm like,
Oh, that
yeah,
is like one of my
that'll do
worst
that.
nightmares.
That will do that to you.
Well, they have like these fissures that are like breaking in the ground everywhere, and I guess they're like filling with lava and just taking a house from the foundation down. So that's some big news going on in the world.
Is it like the movie 2012 over there right now? Where like it's San Andreas where the rock is running along and the ground's breaking and this dude's leg falls off in the lava, right? That's what I'm picturing in my head. Like there's people jumping out of their houses, running towards the water, and a fucking hole opens up and he's like, ah! Ah!
full geostorm? Like, or
That's what I'm
one
saying.
of those
It's one of those
Day After Tomorrow
and of
movies.
course, regular old news is just telling us a boring ass bullshit instead of real life. Where's my GoPros?
Yeah, I hope everyone on the Big Island is all right.
Me too.
And
Know some people out on the Big Island. Shout out. Hopefully you're doing okay out there. That is
Yeah.
someone we have to think of. So
holler out to the people in Hilo, our friends in Hilo.
whoop, whoop.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
So
sure there's
MMA
tons going
news.
on in the world.
I was thinking more of the MMA lines.
Oh, sorry.
And MMA verse instead of just.
Well, that kind of Max Holloway, and we got some Hawaiian fighters. We have to
Do you
of.
think most of these celebrity Hawaiians though are probably like, deuces, I'm gonna go to my LA apartment. Deuces, I'm going to San Diego.
Oh, you want to hear another weird thing?
Yes.
Speaking of, because I was just thinking of, like, why isn't there a Max Holloway gif of him holding back the lava yet? Like he was fighting off the ballistic missile when
Sounds
they had
like
the fake.
LaTB needs to get on it.
So the fake ballistic missile warning that went off to Hawaii right before this volcano kind of erupted, like a few weeks before. Did you see that in Florida there was the fake zombie alert that went out?
I did see that. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Why are they messing with all these fake systems for?
People say it's to soften you up. It's a couple body shots. You get used to it, and then you don't see the one that really hits.
So when the zombie, when the UFOs come in, when the fake government UFOs.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I guess we should get into the card.
But we do have
We are getting off topic a lot.
12 card bout. None of them have fallen out so far. We still have weigh-ins to go. And the way the injury bug's been playing as of late, I have a sneaky suspicion that something's going to go wrong with one of these weights. Nobody here has too much problems, but...
You didn't like that
We'll see.
everyone made weight last time. It just builds up.
Yeah.
It's
the
like,
tension.
yeah, it's almost like the law of averages. We need to lose like one.
Yeah.
Okay, so when everyone makes it on a card, you're like, oh, twice the amount are falling out this card.
Right. But ton of interesting matchups all the way around. Again, it's going to be in the UK. It's going to be aired on Fight Pass and FS1 the entire night. We go to FS1 into the main card.
I don't know, but I can find out why you break it down.
Into this breakdown, we're going to start from the bottom to the top. We have Gina Manzani versus Lena Landsberg. Manzani's coming
I know,
in.
I just want to say check your local listings because we always say Fox, Big Fox, FS1 and bullshit, but I would say we have just as many listeners outside the United States
That's
now.
a good point. So look at your local listings,
Yeah,
but
we
it's going to
don't-
be a paid subscription.
Even time-wise. Like, even time. Check it
If
out.
you're in New Zealand,
Don't
you're
think
gonna be
I'm not
getting
going
it
to
at 2
check
a.m.
14 more times this week, even though we looked it up here.
That is a very good point. But Manzani's come in and had a win and a loss in the UFC against Lena Landsberg's debut. Not debut.
This is a little off topic.
All right,
Well, but
yeah.
it's on topic. It's UFC. So, certain times when fighters probably fight, you probably feel akin to them, where you're like, I kind of resemble them. Like, those are my people.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just me, or are like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Darren Till, they kind of resemble me? Like, I kind of could look like either of them, maybe. Like a sister. Or like, I'm their little lesbo cousin.
You could be related.
Yeah, don't you think I could be related to either Darren Till
I
or...
can see it, definitely.
They're my people.
All y'all look like me.
That's
so
what I'm saying. Don't they kind of look like them? I was even looking at the Wonder Boy's hair a little bit, like, whew. Anyways, go on.
Is that my cousin in there? Is that my cousin?
That's my cousin.
That's my cousin right there. But another cousin you might have, a sister from another mister in Lena Landsberg.
I look more like her than Gina Mazzani.
I want to say Lisa is a lesbian, but I do not know that.
Lena?
Lena is a lesbian. With that triple L dynamic, I want to say she gets down to Chinatown, but she could be a little bi-curious. I don't know.
Maybe she's just Lena. Maybe she's just Lena that way.
Yeah, exactly. So many reasons. But do your thing, Lena.
What about Gina?
And Lena gonna be getting it on. 7-3 record for Lena Landsberg. Her debut, she won against Lucy Padlova. She lost her last bout against Aspen Ladd via Banshee Scream. Remember when Ladd screamed her way to a victory there. Against Manzani's first loss in the UFC against Sarah McMahon in a triangle. And then defeating Yan Wu in a decision 5 months ago. The age disparity is going to end up being 7 years. Lena Landsberg is a little bit more aging at the 135-pound division. We don't know the extent and the limits of women's careers, and Lena has looked good as of late. Always had failing takedown defense. Better than Mazzani, and on the grounds has better top ground scramble and can hold position, has a little more wrestling, where Mazzani drops for knees and ankles and doesn't necessarily... I don't think she's going to submit you with an ankle or a heel hook, but she uses those to transition into a beneficial position, and Lena Landsberg couldn't get caught on the ground there. But I do see Landsberg being the stronger, heavier fighter. Landsberg has heavier output, the power neither of these ladies have. This is a definite stay away all day. Neither one of these fighters is going to be worth it unless it's the first round finish, and it's just too much of a coin flip in the air. I'm going to go with Landsberg decision. Tentative. I don't know if I'm going to be playing her much on my DK, but how do you feel this goes down?
I don't really have too much to add to what you just said, and in fact, I have Landsberg decision as well. I think the odds are dead on this. She should be a slight favorite, and that's about it. And I just think this is a LaTB. Stay away. I don't even need to add anything else.
So 8,500 against 7,700 for Manzani. Landsberg on DraftKings is definitely higher price. She needs to get the finish to pay that off. I don't think it's going to be on any of those cards. There's definitely many other spots to make money. One of those potentially being in Elias Theodorou against Trevor Hot Sauce Smith at 185 pounds. We know what we're getting with the Spartan. The hair, the abs finally. He's always been in shape. Comes in with the kicking heavy style. Has good takedown defense. Really is a counter striker with good lateral movement and a good gas tank. Trevor Hot Sauce Smith is a bruiser. He walks into punches, to land punches. Chin has been very, very tentative, though. He's coming in with a 15-7 record. His last win against Chris Camozzi in a unanimous decision 11 months ago for Smith. I just feel like every time I try to fade Trevor Smith all the time, and it hasn't necessarily always worked out for me. He does get into brutal fights, but he does gut them out, and he's a competitor. He has to get his lights shut off to be out of it, and that's commendable. Theodorou can do that to him, but can also just sit back and really let a point fight accumulate for himself. He has the output. He has a takedown defense. I don't think that Smith can take down Theodorou, so he gets to pick where it's at. Even on the ground, we've seen Theodorou be able to get back to his feet and or just stay on top. You're not going to get submitted by Elias anytime soon, but he doesn't look to do that to win most fights. I got a potential finish just because I hate Hot Sauce Smith's chin. Always have. And Camozzi isn't a big puncher, so that wasn't that hard to get to. I think it's going to be a kick that sets up the finish here. Whether it's TKO after, kick up the middle comes from Elias Theodorou. TKO round number 2, giving Smith a little bit of credit. How do you feel it goes down for yourself?
Maybe I'm giving Smith too much credit, but I haven't seen him get knocked out in almost 3 years. Maybe even longer. Maybe it's been over 3 years. I think he has an okay chin, and he is really a guy that ruins fights and kind of makes him boring. No one ever has him, and he ekes out decisions here and there because he point fights his way to a victory, or the other guy, he has decent cardio the whole way through. Elias Theodorou, on the other hand, isn't a finisher. He's not very exciting, and he doesn't lay out a lot of points. This is dangerous for me, for Elias. If he doesn't lay out enough points, I think Trevor Smith could eke out this decision. Right now, I have it going toward Elias. He hasn't pulled the trigger for me. He hasn't become I thought he had the whole skill set, but maybe none of the aggression. And maybe I wish he had the aggression more in the octagon, and maybe, he's winning fights, so his game plan's obviously working for him. I have Elias eking out the decision, but I think Trevor Smith is a great wager gauger. I don't see him getting knocked out here.
Wow. And he definitely will be the wager gauger, because at 9,400, Elias is going to be one of the top priced fighters on DraftKings against Hot Smith's 6,800. I like what you're saying. I'm not going to stick with that. I'm going to be playing Elias.
You've never liked Hot Sauce.
Never. I'll be the number one to say.
You never liked him.
Because he gets hurt, even if his wins, he has to gut him out because he gets
He's always
hurt.
bloody.
Yep. It's a fun fight. I think this could be a fight of the night contender. Also could turn into a Sam Alvey fight, just because Elias, we calling you boy.
Brad Tavares always has exciting fights, and I feel like his and Elias's fight was... I love Elias. He does not make for an exciting fight.
What might go into more of an exciting fight? We got the 125ers flyweight division for the ladies. We have a debuting Molly McMahon with a 7-1 record against Jillian Roberts with a 4-2 record. Jillian Roberts is coming off of the UFC show, losing to Barb Honchank TKO, but beating in the UFC Emily Whitmire submission via armbar. Jillian Robertson is proof that if a lady out there wants to get in the UFC, I will get you there in 2 years. I guarantee it.
You heard it here.
If Jillian's in there, not to give anything away from her, but it just is a fighter whose striking is so underdeveloped. She's very, very tentative, keeps her head straight up, grabs onto you and drags you down into takedowns, or just bends at the waist and moves forward.
Do you know where she's fighting out of?
Where is she fighting out
Port
of?
St. Lucie, Florida.
Thank you very much, Miss Whitmire. But Miss Robertson...
She's going to find out where you live.
She is going to get me. I just really struggled to watch the tape. To me, she has heart because she moves in there, and she was been in 3-round decisions. Lost to Cavillo. Actually, her only 2 losses are to Cavillo and Barb Honchank. I mean, legitimately, those aren't bad decisions. The other women, though, she was fighting had 3-1 records. They were also very young in their MMA career, and that's just the infancy of these new divisions. It's what's going to happen. Molly, being 7-1, also has very low accredited fighters. All the people she was fighting were 0-2, 0-3. She was fighting competition that she was able to overwhelm with just forward pressure and willing to take a punch.
Some of them were like 12-7 and 11-9. For Molly McCann.
Good point. 11-9 isn't a bad one, and 12-7 her last 2 opponents. 1-2 prior to that. So she does have...
It was like her first fights were their first fights too.
Sure.
But that's how quickly ladies are growing through these ranks.
But either way, I would say in the States, the competition, even in the women's divisions, is going to be better. It's traditionally been that way so far. McMahon, though, does have a wrestling history, being a UK wrestler. I believe she was on the national team, and uses her wrestling fairly well. She uses a standing pick, ankle or knee pick, that she uses to get a lot of her fights to the ground. She, again, moves well forward, but she does keep her line straight, her head straight up and down. She doesn't have to worry about that with Robertson. Her punches are so weak, and she pushes them away instead of really striking well. She really wants to get this fight to the ground, and on the ground, I think that wrestling's going to easily neutralize that. Unfortunately for Jillian, I'm going to definitely have McMahon. I think that her tenacity... McCann, sorry. She's
I know
actually
it's easy because we already got Sarah.
And she's a wrestler.
Yeah.
But McCann, I think, can actually do fairly well in this division with just that forward pressure. Once you see her, she's a pit bull.
McCann has one of your favorite nicknames to be. The Meatball? Are you joking?
McCann the Meatball. I love it.
Molly Meatball McCann. You love that.
Love it. She does take a little bit more damage than I would like. So once she starts really fighting these top-level strikers, get ready to fade this unless she starts to get some better striking in there. But fun to see. Young lady in the division. Robertson, we'll see where it goes. There's other women she can beat in here. I think this is fun. I'm going to go with a submission round number 1 for McCann.
Wow.
With the heavy favorite there, by the way.
I'm going to give Jillian Robertson a little bit of edge just because of being in a tough house and training in America. I do have McCann decision, but I do see it going all the way, and I don't see this being the most exciting fight of the night. I think both these ladies are going to come out hot. Round 1 might be really interesting, and I think it's going to be a fast fade because neither will have 3-round cardio ready for this kind of fight. So I'm probably going to stay away from this. I don't think there's any reason McCann should be this big of a favorite unless everybody knows something I don't know, which is very possible.
I think it's the Robertson thing that I'm
If you listen to the show, it's very possible.
I think it's, like I'm saying, it's that Robertson. If you look at Robertson, you're like, whoa! She's got some rough edges.
Is she one of the 4 horsewomen? Is she that good?
Jasmine Duke level of good. Yeah. But you're going to end up having to pay a pretty penny for McMahon at $8,900 for the debut. And McCann against Robertson, $7,300. And the Savage Robertson is going to unfortunately get rolled. Does this affect the fight, though? McCann just had a fight 2 months ago. So this is a short notice bout that was made within 2 months. They both had 2 months, even though Robertson did fight 5 months ago. She's been getting the more elite level, I would assume, training.
It's so interesting to me what they've put on this Liverpool card. It's like they woke up fighters that haven't fought in a really long time and were like, hey, you're from England? Come on, fight.
Let's go, Meatball.
Yeah, let's go fight. Hey, Meatball, you.
Get in here.
Here's you, girl.
Put that dodo down. Get your ass in here.
So, yeah.
Not that she's going to miss weight. She's a rat lady.
So, yeah, we can move on.
On to Brad Scott versus debuting Caro Pedorsli. You're going to have to help me out with that one. We have a nickname for
Pedersoli.
Cemento.
From Rome, Italy, Pedersoli.
Cemento. We got Brad Scott, who is the Bear, 11-5, coming off of a loss against Jack Hermanson TKO 9 months ago. But prior to that, beating Scott Askham in a split decision. He's also lost to Jutko and beat Dylan Andrews. Brad Scott has had injuries, I believe some ankle and knee issues. Did his fight fall out shortly ago? Was he a part of a situation where he had a breakdown in front of the cameras because he wasn't able... His fight got called off?
Maybe.
Due to some reasons, and he really needs money badly.
Oh, no. We never like to hear that.
Exactly. So... I feel like we were talking about this before already with Brad Scott's mental state. He is a tough guy. He has good head movement in there. Actually has a strong left hand and throws punches down the pipe really, really well. On the ground, he's been underrated. I've underrated Brad Scott on the ground. He's well top heavy and I believe throws in sneaky darts in there and gets you to really move your hips on the ground. Brad Scott has an okay gas tank and wears damage. Not well, but he's able to take that damage. And that's kind of one of his biggest attributes as of now. Carlo... The Cemento is definitely 10-1, debuting out of Rome, Italy, 24 years old. He has a Nicholas Dalby split decision less than a month ago. So, under a month, somebody said, hey, you want to be in a UFC fight? Brad Scott, you want to fly across the pond? Brad Scott didn't have any time. He's probably flying in like at the best, let's say Sunday of this week.
And he is going from his natural 185 down to 170.
But
So
Brad Scott was already looking to make this move in the last fight, and it fell out.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's already done test weights, and that's why he had a breakdown, because he's like, damn it, I was going down a weight. I am interested to see what he looks like. At 28 years old, Brad Scott, he was a fairly big guy at 185. 170, definitely going to want to see what he is on the scale. What I saw in the 24-year-old, though, him winning a split decision over Dalby has always been one of those guys that gets split decisions with everyone. Mm-hmm. It means he's a serviceable striker, has a good gas tank. Actually watched some jiu-jitsu scene on Cemento, and he throws flying arm bars, throws really good, has really good hips, good cardio. His striking, he throws a spinning heel kick all the time from both sides, which is sneaky, but I think it's to his left side, is a garbage spin kick, which a high-level striker is going to throw a punch right as his foot lands. Something to look out for. Brad Scott can land that punch, and the competition that I've seen with Cemento hasn't been that high level other than Dalby. That is a UFC level competition type of a guy, and he's going to take big steps from here. This is a closer fight than people have it. I don't think, even though I give the ground to Caro, that he should be as big of a favorite as he is. I'm going to side with him decision. Brad Scott, though, I really am tentative. I'm not going to play this card heavy anywhere. I think this is much closer, more of a 115 type of bout, especially with that short notice type of split decision. Means he went 3 rounds less than a month ago in a tough fight. How do you feel this goes down?
I like his age being able to do that 3 months ago, because I know in a lot of the other disciplines they're fighting like 60 fights in,
Thailand
a few years. So I'm okay with that just because he is such a young guy, and I do like that it was against Dalby, who I think is a pretty great wrestler, or good wrestler, UFC caliber striker. I like him everywhere. So going to decision and even eking out the split decision, it means you did enough flashy stuff in that the judges liked it. So I like that here. I think Nick Dalby is actually better than Brad Scott, even though Dalby's not in the UFC anymore.
Good point. I kind of would agree with that.
So I like that you can at least decision. I do think Brad Scott has an okay ground game, so I don't see you cinching up one of those easy guillotine chokes that you pulled off on a guy that was 4-2. I think that kind of like MMA 101, Brad Scott is past that level. You might be able to cinch up that choke at the end of a round 3. So I do see Pedersoli getting a decision here and maybe being able to eke out the submission at the end of round 3. If he's a heavy favorite, I don't know what the DraftKings lines are, but I think Brad Scott's going to make it pretty far in this fight.
So I think you are close. You're leaning the right way on the DraftKings lines. It is going to be Persoli at 8,600 against the 7,600 Brad Scott. Interesting how a veteran of the UFC isn't getting the respect that I feel like he should. I feel like it should be a maybe 83 to like a 7-9 or something. It's closer of a fight. I do think wage gauge's status. Brad Scott needs to be on that alert, on that potential money line, because I could see a 3-round decision easily happening in that fight. On to the next bout, we have a middleweight contest. Tom Breeze versus Daniel, the old man, Kelly, being one of the biggest cash cows in the UFC. Dan Kelly's been one of the bigger underdogs who we absolutely love. He's been our Leslie Smith underdog pick of the week multiple times and come through. This is going to be a fun one to break down because I really like Tom Breeze. Tom Breeze is coming off of his first loss ever against Sean Strickland, where the bean was ripe. Tom Breeze can get out wrestled, and old judo Dan Kelly has that in his bag of tricks. If anything, that's what took him to the Olympics and can actually grind on people later on in the rounds and really make them dirty, disgusting bouts. Dan Kelly is coming off of a two-fight losing streak, being 13-3. Those are his 13-1 record of only losses in the UFC. Pretty goddamn impressive. I love me some Dan Kelly. I wish I could put money on Dan Kelly, but I just see Strickland striking being far, far superior. Him being and him being able to keep the distance, keep the fight where he wants it, and eventually just pick Dan Kelly apart. if Dan Kelly can't get this to the ground, this fight's over. If he can, though, Dan Kelly will finish this fight on the ground. Tom Breeze has shown a little bit of vulnerability there, and that old man bag of tricks. Love seeing it, but I'm going to have to side with Breeze. I'm going to go with the finish in the first round.
Wow.
I'm fading Dan Kelly. I love you, Dan Kelly. I love you! But I'm sorry, man.
Dan Kelly just went to decision with your boy Elias Theodorou as his last fight.
Not a knockout artist, Elias Theodorou.
Well, you think he's going to knock out this guy he's fighting this week?
Yeah, but that's what this guy's also garbage. Not garbage, but he's not that good. He's not as good as Dan Kelly, that's for damn sure.
I think Dan Kelly's actually better than anyone that Tom Breeze has ever beat in the UFC.
Whoa.
Which could be like, oh, I know everybody likes Tom Breeze, and I actually do too for this fight. I think he's going to eke out a decision victory because Tom Breeze's best thing he has going for me is that he made it to decision with Sean Strickland and made it to a dirty split. I love Sean Strickland, and if you can get to decision with Sean, you can get to decision with Dan Kelly. And Dan Kelly's cardio is washing away like any colored hair on his head. So as the rounds go on, Tom Breeze will start securing the points and not be as worried about getting taken down. Maybe a knockout by the end of the third. Right now, Breeze decision. I don't think he should be this heavy favorited. I love Dan Kelly too, and if somebody can F your night up, it's Dan Kelly.
He does have that parlay buster gene where he's just willing to screw up your whole betting night, and we would be the first to say, I told you so. 9,000 for Tom Breeze against Daniel Kelly's 7,200. If you're saying it goes to decision, Dan Kelly's could be a wager gauge there. That's tough. I am liking, though, in a first round finish, I'm thinking that he can pay that off. So I'm going to be 70% of my cards, I feel like, are going to have Tom Breeze. It's more of a fade on Dan Kelly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, on to the Claudio Silva versus Nordine Taleb 170-pound bout. We have an 11-1 Silva who has beat Leon Edwards 3 years ago, beat Brad Scott 4 years ago, and has been out for over 3 years against Nordine Taleb's coming off of a 14-4 record with his last 2 wins in the UFC against Danny Roberts TKO 5 months ago and Oliver Enkamp. We know what we get with Taleb. He likes to keep it standing. He's a tri-star fighter, getting better at his jiu-jitsu, really showing how he now is able to keep fights standing more, and he's winning these last few bouts because his striking is finally coming along. He's never been that powerful, but what Taleb does really well is set you up for that strike where you accentuate the power because he got you to step where you want it, where he wanted you to meet for that punch and or kick. Taleb is very kick heavy and it can surprise you. Claudio has been out with injuries. The Hannibal definitely wants to get it to the ground, being 35 years old against the 36-year-old Taleb. I think that ring rust is a real thing. And Taleb's takedown defenses showed as of late to look better. The Brazilian can keep it striking and has looping punches with power just because he gets off center and likes to put weight into them. Against Taleb, that is not going to be good. I see the Brazilian more pulling guard instead of being able to actually shoot and take down Taleb with a double leg takedown. And as of late, I've seen a lot of fights recently be like, a lot of high-level strikers be like, oh, if I get my takedown defense together, I can win fights. And I feel that's the way this is going to go. I got Taleb decision, if not a finish in the later rounds. I don't like that ring rust for Silva. It's been too long at too high of an age at 170. How do you feel this gets
So
down
you do
by
not
the end of the
think
night?
he is a GSP in this situation?
What do you mean by the GSP?
Like GSP took all the time off and then he came back and won.
Nope.
Okay. I have Talib KO round 2 right now. I just think the evolution of MMA has grown leaps and bounds in just the few years that I've been watching. So this guy's I've never seen him fight Claudio Silva. I got to think Nordine has his number. This is a setup fight. It's the main event of the preliminary card. A guy from France, so around that neck of the woods, being able to pull this off. knocks out the other guy in round 2. So I got Nordine Taleb knock out Claudio Silva at round 2.
Wow. So Taleb is 9,100 on DraftKings against Silva 7,100 on DraftKings. I'm going to be like that 60% with Taleb.
I'm going to have Taleb. Out of the prelim fighters so far, he might be on most of my cards.
What percentage would you say of your cards?
75 to 80%. Before we get into the main card, so breaking news, which is kind of, we did talk about how it's like legal now with the gambling thing last time. Another breaking news, it's illegal to kneel during our national anthem in America at a football game. The NFL just made it illegal. You'll be fined if you kneel.
The NFL made it illegal, not the government.
Not the government.
Okay. So this is an NFL policy.
NFL thing.
Okay, I was going to say, like, they make the...
You were about to be like, the Third Reich is here.
No, yeah, like, what is going on? No. Citizens can do whatever the hell they want. Employees, on the other hand, can be meant to hold certain standards, and that might be in the standard of being an employee there.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes.
The way it
goes.
So, and then I will also, we don't have enough time this episode to get through, but I wanted to pick a few fan questions to read to you before the main event. Because we always say we're going to, and then I never go through the bag. So I tried to put out a tweet this week to actually remind me to dig up some of the emails, and then Twitter is not the active social media network.
Soften you up for the main card.
Yeah, anyways, what would you do to build the woman's 135? Is it completely gone? And this is from Jar Jar Brinks at yahoo.com.
To bring the 135-pound division alive, steroids, a lot of them. We will be competitors all day long. All of a sudden, if you see a bunch of cyborgs coming out with traps, like Christiana's, you're like, oh, okay.
I was thinking maybe they could do something similar to Bellator and run a tournament.
I love tournament formats. It is tougher to run than people really think. That's a one-day type of a thing. But that would be so dope. Give me a Fight Pass one-day event where you have 2 to 3 fights in one night. No, with the new standards, you have to have...
I don't even need to see it all in one time. I like the way Bellator is going and the way it all seems to be working out.
And then fight later. That's a good call.
I kind of like it. And then that way you can take out Amanda Nunes. She can just have one fight coming up, and that can be Chris Cyborg. It doesn't affect her 135-pound champion, and she can just wait for the winner of this tournament to fight her.
With the tournament and what you're speaking of, did you hear on Bellator that actually Roy Nelson's competitor for that tournament just fell out? Mirko Cro Cop's 4 days before their UK event, a day before the UFC, Saturday night.
Stinks.
So... Roy Nelson doesn't have a competitor. I believe he moves on in that tournament for the heavyweights.
He gets the bye week.
Wins. Yeah.
That's when he gets the bye.
Does that stand for Burger King?
Yeah.
Is that Burger King?
No, you know how anytime you play in bracket tournaments, you get a bye tournament if you don't have to play? Okay, another question. This is from one of our favorite listeners, our boy Ollie, AFC Dicko at Twitter.
Not oily.
And it's a big ass if Till beats Wonderboy, who is next for him. With interim belt being decided by RDA and Colby, he is still deservedly short of a title shot. Would Usman throw down in the meantime? If Till believes his own hype, then his ego wouldn't turn down the fight. So, what do you think? What's next for Till if he actually beats Wonderboy, because RDA and Colby are fighting for the next Woodley shot?
I would say the obvious answer is the winner of RDA for that interim, if it's not those belt, and then it's the next, because Thompson just challenged for the belt twice. So if you beat Thompson, there's no way that you're not the number 1 or 2 contender right there.
And kind of, even though it's like within a 6-month period of time, Till Wonderboy, Usman Ponzinibbio.
Usman's hand still. I know.
Okay,
sorry.
Till Wonderboy,
okay.
Usman Ponzinibbio, RDA Colby. If you think about it, they're essentially all on the same training schedules right now. Like within 6 weeks. So this is kind of awesome too for like the next year of this division. So yeah, I think the winner of Till Wonderboy, in my opinion. But then you don't have a fight for Woodley at all. If you give, I think the winner of Till Wonderboy would have to get the loser of RDA Covington, which is kind of effed up.
Interesting. I think play.
If it's not Usman, how about Ponzinibbio gets the winner of Wonderboy Till? He's got to still be in that top mix.
I love it, but is it the top level?
I don't know, but
because who is he be other than Gunny?
I know, but if Usman's hurt, and Maya seems to be the staple. If you jumped Maya, you're allowed to have your name in this.
The hard thing about this question is it's all speculation because it's a big what if Till gets through Thompson, and we're gonna find out this week. So we gonna find out.
Okay, all right. One more question, and then we'll move on. LaTB, loving the show, sounding and looking better every day. Question: I know you guys love Usman, but don't you see him versus Woodley as the most boring fight ever? Keep up the good work. Love Wiley Roxy 49@gmail.com.
Great fucking
I thought that was a good point too.
Great point. And it really could be. And it would turn into a collegiate wrestling match. Not a strike throw, barely a strike thrown. But if we're seeing Usman's got some of them brittle hands, T Wood may have broken his hand once or twice too because he throws heat.
I don't know. T Wood seems thick all the way through. Usman seems like he could have smaller feet and hands. The way T Wood's built, like he is bigger than Usman. T Wood's, I would guess.
I'm going to refrain from my speculation of why I think T Wood is naturally denser than Usman, the Nigerian Nightmare. Because it's all speculation.
Yeah, but I agree. That could be the most boring fight ever.
Of all time.
That is a good point. Okay, yeah, moving on.
Not gonna be so boring.
Main card. UFC Liverpool.
185 pounds. Eric Spicely versus Darren Stewart. This is a loser leaves town type of a fight to me because Eric Spicely being 10-3 is coming off of a 2-fight losing streak against Darren Till 7-3 coming off of a 3-fight losing streak all in the UFC. Darren Stewart has lost to Carl Robinson, has lost to Barroso and Julian Marquez via 5 months ago. Eric Spicely 5 months ago lost to Mershart TKO. He also lost to Junior Cara de Zapato by submission, but he beat DiCiricchio and Thiago Santos. So we know what Eric Spicely likes to do. Get you to the ground, submit you as quickly as he possibly can. His striking is very lumbering, leaves his head straight up. His jab is very Tim Sylvia-esque at times, where he kind of like pivots it up and throws it very softly in. Doesn't cover his head that well. Stewart has heavy strikes, throws down the middle, but his chin has definitely been tested multiple times in every single fight. He doesn't have to worry about that against Spicely, but what he does have to worry about is a good takedown and the ground. And Darren Stewart can't get up off the ground. It's been proven. He's been submitted multiple times. And Eric Spicely has that type of a game plan. If he can do that to DiCiricchio, who's a good wrestler, and Silva, who's a powerhouse, he can do that to Stewart in my eyes. And this is, again, a loser leaves town, and I think it's time to get on out of here, Darren Stewart.
You gotta get out of here.
Going with Spicely for the decision, if not submission, in the second or third round for Spicely. How do you feel this goes down by the end of the night?
Liverpool, you want a submission? You're going to get a submission in round 1. You want to see somebody who gets submitted? And then you want to see somebody who submits people. I feel like this is a set-up fight for Eric Spicely to get the main card started off with a finish. The Liverpool crowd should be pretty educated, so a ground game won't fall short on them. And I would never pick Eric Spicely normally, but this fight's perfect, and I actually can't even believe it. But he will be on so many of my cards because he will finish this no later than the 5-minute mark of the round 1.
Bold statements by Lesbo. Here at LaTB, getting hard.
I mean, seriously though, Darren Stewart, look at his last 3 losses.
I totally agree.
Against guys with 5-0 records, 3-0 records, like against guys you don't know now in the UFC. It's not because they fought him a certain amount of time ago and now it's like, well, that was Gunnar Nelson or, oh, well, that was Damian Maia. No, it's against people you're like, who is that? So, Eric Spicely.
Eric Spicely at 8,700 for DraftKings against the 7,005 for Stewart. So we're definitely staying away from Stewart. I'm going to have Spicely on a fair amount of my cards. I'm going to have to pay a little lower for some of these fighters, and that's going to be tougher and tougher as we keep going down the line. But we get to the 135-pound division. We have the bantamweights, Manny Bermudez against Davey Grant. Bermudez debuting against Albert Morales 2 months ago. Was that in the Orlando card? I want to say it was.
Yes.
And Bermudez had a submission triangle choke over Morales. Davey Grant is coming off of an 8-3 record. He hasn't fought in over a year, 7 months, losing to Stasiak in a submission armbar. Prior to that, he beat Marlon Chito Vera in a decision, but he also has lost to Chris Holsworth, who was a standout for a long time. Davey Grant's also been on the UFC show. He's been a long-time competitor. Injuries has definitely kept him out of it for a little bit, and at 32 years old, he has to make the most of it, especially at these light 135 weight classes. Their max range, I feel like, is at 32. That's starting to get old for them, and it's just the way it goes. Those guys are fast at 20 years old. Bermudez, though, he is 12-0, being a heavy favorite coming out of South Shore Sport Fighting. The 23-year-old has not even serviceable striking, honestly. Against Morales, he got hit so much more than I would have hoped for. I feel like I had Bermudez heavy on a lot of fights, and Morales made me really question Bermudez's chin, striking, and IQ, and Morales did start to get beat up once it got to the ground, and that triangle was thrown up really nicely. But against Davey Grant is more than serviceable on the ground. Those submissions aren't going to be there, and I actually really think that Bermudez on striking-wise is going to be way more or less involved than people think. I don't know why, it was just very slow plodding forward. No good head movement. We haven't seen him get into the later rounds. He is 12-0, and he's finished a lot of guys with submission, but I think Davey Grant's one of these guys that can fight off the submission, and all of a sudden Bermudez is going to be like, fuck, I can't beat this guy striking. Now what do I do? Davey Grant's going to get a late round submission. If not, decision. I'm going Grant, decision, big time underdog.
Wow.
How do you feel this goes down by the end of the night?
I think you just had the last fight finish in round 1, and now you just killed 10 minutes of commercials and another build-up for UFC 225 or 226 or Daniel Cormier Stipe, and now you're ready for another fight, and this fight starts, and now you got another fast submission in another round 1, and now we have another 10 or 12 minutes to fill because Bermudez's submissions are so explosive, and he has a good chin. He's not worried about getting hit at the 135 division because the guys don't have as much power. He's a huge 135er. It's crazy he still even makes this weight. Yep. He has a long reach, so it's like the guys that can finally get through and they finally feel confident, they're so worried about figuring out the puzzle of getting through to punch him that they forget that he can throw up the quick armbar, the quick submission. And the submission that DJ did where everyone's like, flying armbar. Yeah. That's how all this guy's submissions are. They're crazy. Yeah, he does just tons of, and he's not worried about getting hit. He's a big guy, and so I think you just are gonna get another quick submission.
So Davey Grant has his 2 out of his 3 losses have been by submission armbar.
So Bermudez submission round 1 again, double in a row. It'll be right off the bat. Wow. 2 submission finishes in both round 1.
Crazy here. Am I going crazy? When I see minus 225 and I'm like, holy shit. I think David Grant's like, am I crazy? But I really was so unimpressed by Bermudez's striking that I think someone with good takedown defense, serviceable.
You don't have to convince me. You just have to convince yourself.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah, no. 2, Jason Knight versus Makwan Amirkhani at 145 pounds. Jason Knight being a 20-4 veteran coming off of a 2-fight losing streak to Gabriel Benitez in a decision 5 months ago and Ricardo Lamas TKO 9 months ago. He's been an underdog on a few fights and definitely come through. Amirkhani being 13-3 is coming off of his first UFC loss against Triple A Aaron Allen via split decision 2 months ago, but prior to that being Mike Wilkinson and Masio Fullen. Andy Ogle as well. Akmar has had trouble with injuries, but has definitely been fighting for a while at 29 years old now. Been in the UFC for a while. His ground game serviceable. His gas tank's good. I just heard a breakdown, or he had 6 months where he just dedicated to boxing specifically, because on the ground he grew up as a wrestler, is really a submission guy, has a lot of finishes by submission, but was getting outstruck in his last fight by Arnold Allen on the striking on his feet and even on the ground, and he really looked to get that back. He went back to his camp within the last 4 weeks to get his ground game back in order, but just apparently went to a pro boxing gym, and I love that amount of growth. I love that dedication and get that specifically better. The thing that I don't like, though, is you got to have good takedown defense, with Makwan has okay takedown defense, and Jason Knight is definitely a guy who can beat you standing. He's a guy who's definitely been a kickboxer before. He's the young type of guy that you talk about that fights every other week if he can, and has actually taken a little time off from the Benitez 5 months ago fight. That was brutal as well, and I like that for him. He's fighting out of Florida, but he definitely has already flown around the world and come up well. He has a heavy output of strikes, has actually better takedown defense than Makwan Amirkhani, but throws less takedowns, but still mixes it up. He will shoot. Actually, Knight, I'm always surprised when he shoots a double leg because it's fast, deep, and underneath. Makwan is actually going to have a trouble in the wrestling here, and I think people are overlooking that for Jason Knight. I think Jason Knight can keep this fight where he wants it, and he's not going to want to keep it on the ground. Knight's serviceable on the ground, but Amirkhani, the longer it's on the ground, the more advantage he has there. I'm going Knight decision. This turns into a kickboxing bout due to the takedown defense. I'm going to be tentative in this spot. I'm going to be super tentative, but I got Knight.
When I think about this going to the ground in any way, I think that Amirkhani can slowly win this fight and slowly wear away out the cardio of Jason Knight, which I do think plays toward the end of the round. But the reason toward the end of end of the round, so round 3. One thing about Jason Knight that I love about him is the kid has higher output than anybody else on this card. If you want somebody for points, even if they lose in round 2, I think it's kind of Jason Knight here. If he can keep it on his feet, I don't know, he probably throws 8 punches a minute, 10 punches a minute, something
Good
significantly higher. So everywhere they're kind of a stalemate to me, except on the striking. I think Jason Knight is, and even to say, I think his style even is showing more even with his losses. He has a cowboy style, and in that cowboy style, I think it's time for a win. It's going to be a great fight. This is probably your fight of the night, and it could go either way, but I'm going to give it to Jason Knight on the feet by decision.
Does it matter that Amirkhani is at Straight Blast Gym with Krav Maga or Kravana? I mean, does that change your mind in this fight? Because that's who I'm talking. He went away from Straight Blast
and Connor
and
Gunny there. I don't know. Danis didn't do it. The fight wasn't long enough for me to really tell. I don't think Jason Knight's schlubbing here. I like the kid's personality, and I like the time off he took. I think that's something shifting in his head, that he realizes he can't just go out there and put his body through these battles. I think we're going to get a smarter Jason Knight this time. Mm-hmm. And if not, then it will be a permit fade from here on out. But it's a faith thing that I like him so much. I want to see him turn this ship around. And this is a hard fight to friggin' do it.
This is not easy. I think fight of the night contender for sure.
Yeah.
The output is the scrambles are going to be crazy. 8,300 for Jason Knight against the 7,900 for Amirkhani.
I think that should be flipped. Even though I have Jason Knight and you have Jason Knight, I feel like Amirkhani should be the favorite.
Slight favorite, Jason Knight at minus 140 against the plus 120 Amirkhani. So, guess most people are seeing it the way we're seeing it, because it's a slight favorite, and it's probably that striking.
And I think Amirkhani, this is how I actually see it finished. Kick to the midsection. I think he has a soft body. I don't know why. Just how I see it.
Putting it out there. On to the featherweights, we have a bout between Triple A Aaron Almighty Allen against Mads Burrell. Mads is 9-2, coming in with his second loss in the UFC, debuting against Michel Prazeres, who was 253 pounds for that bout. Again, 4 months ago, Mads Burrell beat Mike Santiago in a unanimous decision. Santiago is a Contender Series guy who never amounted to anything. He went 2-0 or 0-2 and was out of the UFC. Almighty Triple A is 12-1, losing early in his career, and has since been on like a 11 or 10-9 bout fight winning streak, having a few fights in the UFC already, beating Yatsin Meza, beating Alan Omir, beating also his last win against Amirkhani, who's fighting on the bout before this. But what we've seen with Alan is he's been traveling to the States. He loves to fight, has good pressure, a good gas tank. Growing into his body at 24 years old, you're seeing him put a lot of muscle on. I do think that at 150 or 145 pounds, I see Almighty moving up to 155, because this is going to be a tough one to start to cut for this guy. He's definitely looking a bit older later and later as he goes on. Mads Burrell also being 24, the level of competition for Mads for me is just a lot lower than Allen, and Allen's made those big changes to his gym where Mads has kind of stayed at the same point. Almighty is better striking, has a better ground game, and if it goes to the ground, that's where I feel like Mads tends to really make his money. His decision against Santiago, he used his striking to win more of a point fight, but Arnold can get this to the ground when he wants to. He has better takedowns. They're always evolving more and more, and Mads Burrell actually has fairly low takedown percentage. He definitely can get put on his back and sat there more, but he tends to be a fight standing centric type of a guy. It's a heavy favorite for Triple A. It makes sense to me why. I don't see Mads really winning this fight anywhere, unless it's one of those flash submissions that we've been seeing lately in like the third rounds, comeback of the year thing, but it's Triple A all the way. Pretty one-sided for me. How do you feel it goes down?
I agree. You want another submission, England? You got another submission. This is set up for you. I feel like they made this card specifically for hometown guys to pull off big things, except for there is one hometown guy that I have going nowhere against Spicely. But other than that, Alan, this is going to be huge. He's going to pull it off. It's set up for him. Quick armbar, guillotine, something or other. I have a finish for Arnold, and I think he's going to set the whole thing up with strikes and then submit him.
I could see that.
He's had a lot of decision victories. This is going to be a little different. I think there's a young, hungry England uprising coming, and this is the card we're going to see it. And Arnold Allen will come out victorious and build a really hot name for himself and have a good call out or something. So Allen submission round 1.
9,200 for Allen against 7,000 for Burrell. I'm going to be putting Allen on a lot of places, but I have to kick somebody else off because I do think that he is more likely to finish.
He's more appropriately priced than Elias Theodorou, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Totally agree with that. On to the co-main event. We have Neil Magny versus Craig White. Craig White coming in short notice due to Neil Magny's Gunny Nelson being injured, going right into knee surgery. So this one definitely takes a hit. Luckily, we did find a replacement, but I don't see how we have to break down too much. White is debuting, being the local guy. Somebody said, hey, do you know a fighter who's willing to fight short notice? And a month ago, we had Craig White defeating Alex Montagnighi in a submission triangle choke, but he also beat a few other fighters with 20-9 records and 10-2 records, and he's coming out of the CW, Cage Warriors promotion, the 5-0 type of guys he's beating. He has lost, though, with a 14-7 record by punches. Neil Magny, short notice, the guy who's actually in the top 15 category. A little too much too soon. Craig White, I would love to probably see in there against somebody more fitted to his competition. I just think that Magny on the ground is going to be able to stifle anything White wants to do and then just use that pace to eventually get a finish. I do think it happens, though, in the third, if not decision. But if it's a decision, it could be a 20 or a 10-8 round. Because I think Magny can just land on top and land 50 strikes in one round. Because that's what he does. How do you feel this one goes down?
I got Magny decision as well. I actually think he's going to... I don't think this is a walkthrough fight, and I think the amount of tentativeness he's going to have about not losing to a no-name fighter, in quotes, is going to be a little nerve-wracking. I think it's going to be the DC Silva thing, where it's just that stagnant kind of fight, and we never see Neil really feel comfortable enough to open up because he hasn't trained for this guy either and doesn't really know enough about him to even watch tape and train. Mm-hmm. So I think this is actually going to be a more chill fight than we expect, and I don't think Magny is going to lay out enough points because I do think he's going to be a huge favorite everywhere. I don't think the points for like a DraftKings card are going to be worth it, even though Magny on a parlay makes total sense.
Magny is going to be the most expensive fighter at $9,500 against White 7,000 or 6,700. I definitely agree. That's too much. If, again, the finish comes, I think it's going to be later, if at all. I could see this easily just being a wrestling match and Magny gets paid and he's like, all right, nobody got hurt.
And a hungry kid with a record and experience and his shot on a main card. I don't like anything about this for Neil Magny. I don't like anything about this for Neil Magny. A chinny guy. Woo!
That Gunny Nelson fight would have been so much better. Unfortunately, the injury bug strikes again. But luckily, we still have the main bout intact. We have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Darren Till. Is he the vanilla gorilla, the gorilla, or what is he like?
I think he's just the gorilla.
But it's not. That's not officially his nickname. He just calls himself a gorilla regularly because that's what he's doing. So, a lot of people have been breaking this down. A lot of people initially had Darren Till. I feel like he was a close to favorite, if not shot to the favorite, and now is back down as slight underdog. 16-0-1 Darren Till has got a draw against Dalby, but has come off of a 3-fight winning streak to Arya Volkovic, and last beating Donald Cerrone that 7 months ago. That is his marquee win, and Donald Cerrone had just got knocked out 2 months prior to that, if not a month prior to that. LaTB here was all over the Darren Till underdogness. We made tons of money that night on Darren Till, but Donald Cerrone to Wonderboy Thompson is leaps and bounds, even though rankings-wise, those Wonderboy and Cerrone aren't far apart. I think Wonderboy would walk through Donald Cerrone at this point of his career as well. Unfortunately for Stephen Thompson, at a 14-2 record, these are only losses coming to Tyron Woodley. One of them being a draw, actually. The other loss early in his career. But Thompson's come back with a win, beating Jorge Masvidal in a decision 6 months ago. Thompson showed us that he can still do everything that he's been doing for a long time. And Masvidal, you know how much we respect him here at LaTB. That was definitely a close fight, but that's Masvidal always giving the fight away more than Stephen Thompson winning it outright.
And I hate to say it, but Masvidal's more of a natural 155 to me than a 170er. Is that weird?
I thought he was a 170 or more than any. He's a 65er.
He's a tween.
He's a tween.
He's like Cowboy.
He's a tween. Exactly in the tweens. Stephen Thompson, though his knees have always been issues, he's always got to worry about that. But he's went 5 rounds 2 times with the current champ and then beaten another high-level contender where Darren Till, he's getting so much hype. He's getting documentary pieces. He's making all sorts of stuff. He is the head striking coach, or was, for, I believe it was either AKA or one of those Southern California gyms for a while.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah. He was also kickboxing champion as a youth, went down to Brazil, got better at jiu-jitsu. He is a new breed competitor at 25 years old. We're going to see Darren Till get leaps and bounds better, but with a perfect 16-0-1 record, Darren Till has had a few fights, but this is the type of fight that he's going to grow so much more in because Thompson is such a unique style that he's never seen anything like it. We've seen training footage of Till lately, and to me it looks like he's planning in there and getting inside the cage and boxing it out, going to the body, going to the head, and fighting him like he fights other strikers.
I thought that was all old footage.
How old do you think?
2016.
Wow, I thought it was fairly recent. I thought
I thought it was
this training
all
camp.
old. I thought he kept saying, like, that's old stuff, because people are like, what, he just brings these fighters in and beats the shit out of them? Like, he's a horrible training partner.
Yeah.
He's like, that's all old.
Oh, good to know. I thought that was all current.
Yeah, I thought that was all
Oh,
old footage.
good to know, because if he's getting away from that, it does definitely change it, because you can't have that style of fighting that he showed in those videos against Thompson. You're going to walk in on a punch, and he did that to Donald Cerrone. If I'm watching their 2 last fights, Darren Till overwhelmed Donald Cerrone by moving forward, eating a punch as he landed a harder punch on Cerrone, and Wonderboy Thompson will step to the side and put his heel where you're gonna be and knock you out with all sorts of kicks to the body and head. Definitely more elusive than people give credit for Thompson, but I think the line's reflecting that more now that it's balanced out to a -160 for Thompson. I do think that he's not going to be able to get this to the ground, because if Hendricks, Woodley, and other elite wrestlers haven't been able to get Thompson down, Darren Till's not going to try to or even want to. This is going to turn into a karate striker against a Muay Thai fighter. And in MMA, I think Till is the more advanced guy, but I think that the specialty for Thompson is so high. His IQ is so high in that specialty, and he is an MMA fighter to all outright as well. He can defend takedowns for sure. I do think that Thompson's going to walk away with a point karate fight. I do think that this can actually turn into a boring Usman Maya type of fight where they go, oh, you hit me? Okay, pop, pop. I hit you with 2. But there's nothing committed to any of the punches, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That's not how Darren Till seems to fight, though.
If he walks forward, he's going to get a heel right to the chin, which
he's going to walk forward. That's
I love
his fight style.
I love it.
I had Wonderboy the whole... Oh, who do you have?
I have Thompson decision. I think it goes all 5 rounds.
I had Wonderboy pretty much up until the week, and I started to study Darren Till more, and not just his fight style, and also I studied Wonderboy as well. Wonderboy's most dangerous weapon isn't a head kick. Darren Till actually has great head coverage the entire time, but of course he does. He's won 60 kickboxing matches beforehand. I think the most clever thing that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson could do, the weakest spot for Darren Till, in my opinion, is his front lead leg. If Stephen Wonderboy Thompson can pick that apart in the first and second round, if you watch Darren Till in his entire fights, he just leaves that front leg planted the whole time, almost to set up like he's willing to take kicks for it. And he's too fair-skinned, all the bruises show, and even with the lesser strikers that he's fought, they all pick apart that front leg, and we know Wonderboy has them kicked. So if you take away Darren Till's knockout power by taking apart that front leg, that would be what I'd do if I'm Wonderboy. Darren Till, on the other hand, he's so interesting to me because he has handpicked his opponents the last few fights. He called out Cowboy, and everyone thought he was the huge underdog. Not here, we didn't. We thought he was huge. Yeah. He's the biggest 170er that Wonderboy's used to being the big 170.
T-Wood gets up there too, though.
But not height-wise.
Yeah, true that.
T-Wood's is like a short little... and where Till actually will be the bigger guy in the octagon, which I think is weird. But... so Darren calling out Cowboy, where I start thinking about Cowboy, and I'm like, what's Cowboy? An American kickboxer. Okay. That's his style to me. It's like American Muay Thai. He has this like mix of MMA. And I start to think about Wonderboy and how many similarities they have in their style between Cowboy and Wonderboy. How it's like they're, karate, kickboxing, a little different, kind of the same here. Mm-hmm. So Darren Till... his goal in the last few fights that I watched of his is to get people to have a kickboxing match with him. So he's not worried about that angle because he's like, sure, bring it. I'm comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. But what he does is sneak inside kick range where I think Wonderboy is useless, and what Cowboy's biggest weapon becomes useless. That creepy head kick, all of a sudden, Darren Till, the way he stalks in and the way he plants that front foot forward, he almost ends up where they couldn't even get a full punch out, much less a kick. Mm-hmm. So it's so interesting watching him fight. I think he picked this fight, and he's getting Wonderboy at just a perfect age of Wonderboy. A little slowness, it's not going to be there. I think Darren Till picked this because he's seen it in his head going away a million times. I don't think he wins by decision. I think he figures out Wonderboy. He figures out the puzzle that we haven't seen anyone else figure out, and I actually think he's going to finish him and a knockout in round 5.
Wow.
And you know how the knockout? I've even thought about this.
Let's hear it.
The other thing, Darren Till, when I'm looking at him, he actually reminds me of Nick Newell. He uses his fucking elbow like it's a short little arm. Like, he uses his elbow like his fist isn't even there. And you don't even see it. You have to watch it back in slow motion over and over again, because you'd be like, oh, I swore he punched him in the jaw. And when you watch it in slow motion, you're like, holy shit, I didn't even see him get his elbow around. It's not just knockout power from his hands. He has knockout power from his elbows. So that's how I think he's going to catch Wonderboy. A little Nick Newell, a little weapon in the inside. It's going to wobble Wonderboy. He's going to come in for the attack. Done. TKO. I see a TKO. I don't see a clean knockout.
Bold with the underdog, Lesbo, coming through. We have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 8,400 on DraftKings against Darren Till's 7,800. So we have it flipped on there. Who are you going to go? I mean, Till's obviously the play. If you think the finish is coming, he's a play. On a 5-rounder like this, if we both think it's going even into the 5th at all, with their strike-heavy style,
I've already put both on a few.
You can stack them, right?
I already have them both on a few. And Wonderboy lays out enough punches. Because he is a point karate fighter, he does get points. So he is, for a 5-round fight, I picture 70 points for Wonderboy, even in a loss, maybe 80. Because Darren Till will take damage. I see
them both in the same. I see them both in that 70-point range with the 5-rounder.
Yeah, they're both not. No takedowns are going to come. And Darren Till, if you actually watch his fights, it's almost like he just uses a takedown as a threaten, but never really intends to get it there.
Just to get you to move.
Just to make you feel like, I'm strong AF. I'm a big motherfucker. But watch that front leg kick. If that starts getting picked apart in round 1, because he doesn't check it at all. He's almost like a Diaz. He refuses to check it, and it drives me crazy. And I watched him against lesser fighters than Wonderboy. So if Wonderboy stops thinking about the head kick and starts working on the leg, it'll be a whole different fight, and he can walk away with a finish.
What's the fight of the night that you are most excited for? Now that we've broken down this entire card.
I'm Till Thompson. I'm excited.
The main event definitely does it for you there. It has everything you want.
I'm excited.
More. I would definitely have to say that the one that I think is most back and forth is Knight Amirkhani.
That's the fight. That's my fight of the night.
Yeah, that's what
I'm most excited for. Thompson Till, but my fight of the night will go to Amirkhan Knight. And there will be other exciting fights, it's like such a mix. It's almost a mismatch card in places where the other fighter just isn't enough dance partner to make it a fight of the night. Hopefully for my card, it's that way. So yeah, that's it. I guess until Sunday. So thank you. We love you guys, and thanks for another listen.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.